I would like to call the Fairfield County Council regular meeting to order, Winsboro, South Carolina, Monday, January the 23rd, 2023 at 6 p.m. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Any discussion?
Mr. Chair, I would like to make a motion that we amend the agenda to add item 12B to allow Chief Kevin Lawrence to present some information to council and the citizen in regards to an upcoming event in regards to the incidents that's been occurring in the neighborhood here frequently. If I can get a second.
Second.
County Administrator, can we amend that agenda? Can we get an explanation on it, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, members of council, inasmuch as this is an item, as I understand it, it's not going to require a vote of council. The bylaws of this current council, specifically section 14A2, provide for that the agenda can be amended to allow for a discussion item to be added. So it's appropriate for that motion to be made.
Thank you. Any other discussion on the amended motion? All in favor of amending the agenda? Say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Vote passes 7-0. Now back to the regular motion on the agenda. All in favor of it? All opposed? Vote passes 7-0. Now we will have invocation by Pastor Jimmy Burrows from the Christ Central Church.
Thank you. It's an honor to stand before you people. Ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor to address this council. I'm going to pray really quick. I got a captive audience and I didn't bring an offering plate, but just we'll get through that. Thank you for what y'all have done to keep the Samaritan House open. I got to say that because right now we had a fire and we are rebuilding and we plan to open up the next couple of weeks, and I just want to thank all of council for, without God in this council, we probably wouldn't be open, but thank you. Now I'm going to pray, and I want to thank our God, the God of second chances, and as I should have got an amen from some of the council, but that's okay. Y'all get happy. God loves everybody. We want to smile. Let's pray. Father, we thank you for your love and your mercy. We pray now in the name of your Son, Yeshua the Christ. Father, we pray that you'll guide these gentlemen and ladies in making the decisions for this county to represent the entire county. And the decisions they make, God, will move this beautiful, beautiful county that we have forward into progress. God, I thank you for each and every one of them. I thank you for the decisions that they will be making. And I thank you most of all, God, that you have this county and these people at this time to promote growth and change. We thank you and we pray in your Son's name, Yeshua the Christ. We all said, amen. Thank you.
Pastor Burrows, thank you. Next, we will have the approval of minutes, and we will do all of these at one time unless council opposes. Administration and Finance, 12/12/22. Regular meeting, 12/19/22. Inauguration and Organization, 1/9/23. And regular meeting, 1/9/23.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Vote carries 7-0. We have no public presentations. Next, we're down to the first public comment session. Dr. Roberts, anybody who wishes to speak?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. Members of council, Jeff Schaefer.
Good evening, council. Can you all hear me? First, I want to congratulate everyone up there. And I hope you heard Mr. Burrows' prayer tonight. I was listening carefully. he actually said some very important things. Even I was touched because the words are truthful. He's asking that we get together and do the right thing for the right reasons for all of us. Sometimes that's kind of hard to do when you're sitting in a power position and you think that, you know, I think I know better than the next guy. Well, we don't. We have to get together and do good things. And so I wish you all of you, good luck in this endeavor. And if there's anything I can criticize you with, surely I will be doing it. Shirley, a little smile? Okay. Is this a topic that I have to discuss specifically? Is this something we're discussing in this first section here? Do we have anything specific? Yes, to the agenda. There was no agenda put up here, and the agenda, is this my agenda here? Well, I'll make it short and sweet because I wasted half my time already. One question I have about the agenda in general, and the statement is, why do we have ordinances every agenda, every meeting? Why? Don't answer me now, haven't got time. But at some point, I'd like to know why we're constantly putting out ordinances. When does that end? Think about that for a minute. I'll have a seat and let the next man speak. Thank you very much.
Randy Bright, sorry.
I'll take it as a compliment. Randy Bright, District 1. Yes, District 1. Let the healing begin. Again, congratulations to all of you. Well done in the campaigns, clean, well-organized campaigns. You all deserve to win, and I thank you for that. I would like to address a financial topic. I'd like to address a lot of financial topics, don't have the time. There's a lot of things in the past, and as I see we're moving forward in the present, that we're not addressing. And we need to button down a lot of financial issues. The first one is, how are we managing our money? And my rhetorical question to you is, we have something like $3 million set aside for the lease on this building, 6 years out now, I believe. So is that $3 million just sitting idly and not earning money? Or earning a minimum, maybe 0.5%, 1% interest rates? What are we doing about that? I just double-checked. Wells Fargo, 1-year CD, 4.7%. You got to know what you're doing. You got to go to the right source. But you take $3 million and you add 4% on that, you can do the math. You're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars every year we're losing by not addressing the financial aspect of managing our money. And last time I checked, we were just putting the money in a state fund, and which almost pays nothing. Again, hundreds of thousands of dollars down the drain. We need to be looking at all sorts of avenues for revenues. We also need to be looking at the fund balance. Lots of confusion on the fund balance in the past. What is the fund balance for? Does anybody even know what the recommended amount of fund balance is from the Government General Accounting Agency? How much should you have in there? If you have too little, that's not good. If you have too much, that's not good either, because you're wasting money. You're wasting projects that could be completed. You're wasting, why run on recaps in the departments when we have the money to spend it? Well, it's 16.67% is the recommended minimum fund balance for any government organization like a county or municipality. There is so much to do, so much to talk about on this issue. Also, what are we doing as far as saving expenses? When's the last time we had SCANA do an energy audit? And we could save maybe millions, maybe investing a little and saving millions because of the high cost of energy. So much we can do to manage our money. Thank you.
No one else signed up to speak, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Roberts. Next, we are down to public hearing. Item A, Ordinance 807. Dr. Roberts, will you read the ordinance?
Yes, sir. Ordinance 807, an ordinance to adopt the 2021 South Carolina Modified Codes as follows. The 2021 International Building Code with South Carolina modifications, the 2021 International Residential Code with South Carolina modifications, the 2021 International Fire Code with South Carolina modifications, the 2021 International Plumbing Code with South Carolina modifications, the 2021 International Mechanical Code with South Carolina modifications, the 2021 International Fuel Gas Code with South Carolina modifications, the 2020 National Electric Code, NFPA 70 with South Carolina modifications, and the 2009 International Energy Conservation Code, Energy Standard Act.
Thank you, Dr. Roberts. I'll open the public hearing as to Ordinance 807 at 6:12. Any speakers?
No one signed up to speak, Mr. Chair.
I close the public hearing at 6:12 p.m.
He didn't sign up.
Okay, that's fine.
I know why we're doing this, but I'm not.
Excuse me.
Yes.
I open the public hearing up at 6:12 p.m.
I know why we're doing this. I'm not sure the entire county knows why. Just a point of advice, put that somewhere in the ordinance so that everyone, not everyone wants to speak, not everyone wants to attend the meeting, not everyone can. Let us know why you're doing this ordinance. I know it's basically just a function that require a state requirement function, but if you didn't know that, you'd wonder, what is this? Why? So, and that goes to all ordinances, period, but explain to everybody why you're doing this, please. But do that first in the ordinance. Thank you.
No one else signed up to speak, Mr. Chair.
I close the public hearing at 6:13 p.m. Next, we are down to ordinance, resolutions, and orders. Dr. Roberts, if you read item A, 8A.
Yes, sir. Ordinance number 807, an ordinance to adopt the 2021 South Carolina Modified Codes as follows. The 2021 International Building Code with South Carolina modifications, the 2021 International Residential Code with South Carolina modifications, the 2021 International Fire Code with South Carolina modifications, the 2021 International Plumbing Code with South Carolina modifications, the 2021 International Mechanical Code with South Carolina modifications, the 2021 International Fuel Gas Code with South Carolina modifications, the 2020 National Electric Code, NFPA 70 with South Carolina modifications, and the 2009 International Energy Conservation Code, Energy Standard Act.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. If we could ask the county attorney to give a brief description of the ordinance for council and the public's information.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, members of council, what you have before you this evening, Ordinance 807, is the adoption of the South Carolina Codes Council. What happens is the State Building Codes Council is the one who's responsible for generating the building codes as well as all the gas codes, electrical codes, et cetera. And every 3 years, it's a process by which the State Building Codes Council it goes through and is authorized to promulgate the new regulations. They put special modifications in for South Carolina, and then each county or each jurisdiction is required to adopt those verbatim. At this point in time, it's not a situation wherein Fairfield could go in and modify them. That would be in violation of the South Carolina Building Codes Council. To Mr. Bright's comment, there's actually some information on the South Carolina labor licensing and regulation website, which spells all this out. And that's what this ordinance does this evening, is allow for these new building codes, in essence, to be approved and therefore be applied in Fairfield County.
Any other discussion on third and final reading of Ordinance 807? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Item 8B, resolution number 2023-01, a resolution appointing Fairfield County's representatives on the commission of the Fairfield Joint Water and Sewer System. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Can we have the county attorney to give us a brief description of the resolution for council and public's information?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, members of council, what you have before you this evening, resolution number 2023-01. This is a resolution that appoints members to the Fairfield Joint Water and Sewer System. And what happens is the county can appoint two individuals to the commission itself. One of those members is a public member, a member of the public, and this resolution authorizes the reappointment of Mr. Kyle Krager, who's a local resident and engineer. He's already been approved via very similar resolution by the town of Winnsboro. This is just county council basically also agreeing to appoint Mr. Krager. The counties also is allowed to move forward and appoint a member of council to the commission. And in this instance, it is appointing the chair, Mr. Pauly, as the county council's member to the Fairfield Joint Water and Sewer System, that commission board. And finally, just to make sure everybody's clear, the county administrator as well as the town manager, they also have positions on the commission board as well by virtue of their role and respective duties in administration.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan. Any other discussion?
This is indeed a replacement, is it not, for, that means you're taking Mr. Tim Roseborough off?
Yes, ma'am. All in favor? All opposed? Two nays. Vote carries 5-2. Who? Yeah, ask for a hand count. Against? Yeah, 4-3. Next, we are down to board and commission minutes. Is for information only, disabilities and special needs, October the 10th, 2022. All in favor?
So moved.
You want to approve them? Okay. We have no board and commissions appointments, no old business. We are down to new business, discussing to update county council's bylaws. Just want to say that the bylaws are online, resolution 2018-04. Ask all council members to please review, and if you have any proposed edits, please send them to the administrator, and we will discuss at the January 31st work session. Next.
Would you repeat that, please, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, ma'am. Bylaws are online, resolution 2018-04. 2, please review, and if you have any proposed edits, send them to the administrator. And 3, we will discuss at the January 31st work session.
Thank you.
Next, we are down to 12B, discussion of current public safety issues facing the citizens of Fairfield County.
Mr. Chair, I don't see Mr. Lawrence, Chief Lawrence here.
Okay, we'll save that for another time. Next, we are down to 13, County Administrator's Report. Ms. Johnson.
Good evening, Council. The first item on the agenda is the new Human Resources Director. I would like to introduce you to our newest member of the Fairfield County team. Ms. Smurl, would you please stand? Ms. Mary Smurl is our new Human Resource Director. She has many years of experience in managing, consulting, recruiting, and training in the field of HR. Ms. Smurl, we welcome you. We are glad to have you on our team, and we look forward to working very closely with you. Thank you. Mary Smurl.
Ms. Smurl, I would like to say welcome to Fairfield County, and we will support you wholeheartedly.
Just one question. The previous survey, was that, I guess, discussed with new employees?
Yes, it was.
Okay. Was that survey released to the public?
I'm not sure.
We received 2 FOIAs for copies of the survey, one from a local paper and another from a Columbia news station. We did release it that way. It has not been published online.
Thank you.
And I want to say as well, Ms. Smurl, thank you for accepting the position and being here in Fairfield County.
Next is the county council workshop, which is going to talk about.
Just want to let y'all be aware, and you have a copy of the agenda. We'll be hosting a pre-budget workshop on Tuesday, January 31st. It'll be held at the Midlands Tech College Northeast Campus, which is at 151 Powell Road in Columbia, South Carolina. At that budget work session, we'll have a presentation from the South Carolina Association of Counties for you all. We'll go over some administrative updates related to some leadership needs here at the county. Although you'll have a financial presentation here today, we'll go into more detail if you have any questions after today's financial presentation. And we'd also like to just go over with you the budget process and getting input from council as we go into the next budget session. So we do hope to be done by about 2:30. It should not last all day, but again, depending on discussion, we'll have staff available to be able to answer any questions you have during that workshop. If you do have any other things you'd like to add to the agenda or more specifics on, just let us know. Administration will work and try to get that added to the agenda as well.
Okay, next is the audit update. I've spoken with both staff and one of our auditors at Malden and Jenkins to determine the reasons for the audit not being finalized. I also looked at a few of the schedules and the spreadsheets that were also sent to the auditors. During this audit, the trial balance was sent September 19th, 2022. Both staff and auditors know that when they receive a trial balance, it's common to have additional adjustments. That's just normal. However, in December 2022, the auditors received a large number of adjustments that affected several accounts. The auditors didn't expect to receive such a large number of adjustments and to receive them so late. So as a result, the auditors now have to re-audit the revised or updated numbers and also have to audit the new numbers that they received for the first time. Prior to this, the auditor expected to have a completed audit and be here tonight to present it to you. An email sent by the auditing firm stated that a more realistic completion date is mid-February. Per my conversation with the auditor, the time frame set was prior to her reviewing any of the documents that had been sent to her in mid-December. So the draft still has to be sent to finance for review before it is finalized. So the mid-February date is for the auditors to have completed their field work. Then after that, it has to go to a senior partner for review, then it comes to finance for review, and then it goes back to the auditors, and then a final is generated. So based on all of that, a more realistic time frame for the presentation will be sometime in March. So where do we go from here? I've spoken with the auditor to include me on all emails regarding the status of the audit. If additional reports or information is needed, I will ensure a quick turnaround from our staff to prevent any more delays. Do you have any questions?
I just want to make a statement and then ask a question. With us going through the audit situation on last year, I thought that there were going to be steps put into place where we wouldn't go through this. My biggest question is, why did we wait to December to do the audit? Send the information into the audit, you know.
On your first part of your comment, I was informed that a plan was in place And it included having additional staff and separate out the duties so that the work could be produced more quickly, get things to the auditors. But unfortunately, the new staff didn't begin until a couple of weeks ago. And on your second part of the question, no explanation could be given as to why the documents were sent so late.
So we're putting in steps where this doesn't happen again. Am I correct?
We are going to do it to put more steps in place.
Okay.
Who was in charge of getting the documents in?
The finance department.
So, okay. So are we losing money from the state because the audit's late?
They withhold our funds until the audit is actually sent to the state.
Will they reimburse the funds that we're not getting?
Yes, all they do is they just hold it. They withhold it until they get the audit report, and then it's released if they're going to hold anything.
Okay.
Ms. Johnson, in getting the audit completed, I think all of council received an email, I think it was January the 3rd or January the 7th, informing us of the audit and that it was not completed. I would like for all of council going forward, when we approach September, that all of council receives regular emails or notification from the administrator on where we are with the audit. I think when it gets to January and we're notified, is way past the process for us to be notified. We need to, and I know you're new as the administrator, but going forward, I hope new administrators bring council up to speed on where we are with the audit. And if not bi-weekly updates, monthly updates, so we can be aware of the audit process.
Yes, sir.
I really appreciate your help in getting all of this solidified. One of the things that I think we have talked about in the past, and something that we're really hoping to see in the future, is that we have some kind of process whereby we have monthly financial reports and some kind of system in place whereby if those monthly reports can be rolled up, we will have an easier time closing our books at the end of the year, in hopes that we certainly will be able to get those audits done and completed on time, especially before December 31st.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I'd just like to echo that. This is being the second year in a row this happening. It's just not a good look for the county. I know you're just back on now, and you've got a ton of experience in this. So, yeah, I agree. We've got to put in place so that this starts in the fall and we're notified and that this never happens again.
Yes, sir.
But thank you for catching it up and getting the ball rolling again. Thank you.
And next is a presentation by the finance department. And this is Ann Bass, our finance director.
Hello. Trying to find where IT's got it loaded. There we go. Okay. So this is just a quick list of some things to present. I think you all have copies at your table. The first two slides, we're going to look at general fund revenues and expenditures for the fiscal year ending June 30th. If I can And this is a busy slide, unfortunately, but there's not a much better way to get it on there. So you can look at that at your table. Might be a little clearer. But as you can see, in a nutshell, for fiscal year '22, it looks like our expenditures are going to exceed our revenues by approximately $3.9 million. So that results in an increase in general fund balance for that year. I want to point out three main factors in that increase. If you look up in your revenues under miscellaneous, we have a $1.4 million. That is where we sold the medical office buildings. Right above, that was in sale of assets. Right above that, we had about a $2.1 million in miscellaneous. Part of that is the $1.9 million in cash from the Dominion settlement. That's recorded as a legal settlement. So while both of those items are contributing to our revenues exceeding what we thought, they are non-recurring items. So they are one-time things that are certainly good this year, but they will not be repeaters. And then with expenditures, as you all are aware, we brought little or no capital this year. So those three things, which are all non-recurring things, are contributing to us having a projected increase in fund balance. This slide is just a chart that shows our expenditures by function for the fiscal year end 6/30/22. And as you can see, the three main categories, general government, public safety, and health and welfare, they make up about 84% of our total expenditures. And most of these, of course, our public safety is our police, detention, animal control, fire, coroner. Our health and welfare is EMS, emergency management, transit, solid waste. And our general government, which is all of our admin, economic and community development, building maintenance, airport, treasurer, delinquent tax collector, auditor, assessor. A lot of our unfunded mandates are in that general government. So these three big categories, there's not a whole lot to change there. And they make up about 84% of our budget. The next two slides are basically the same two slides, but they take us through the 6 months ending 12/31/22. So first, I'll say it's important to remember when we look at revenues, our big collection months for property tax revenues are going to be January, February, March. So our revenues are pretty significantly below budget, but that is absolutely normal for this time of year. January, y'all know our deadline, our due dates are January 15th, February, and March 15th. So that is normal. Our expenditures are pacing below 50%, which, considering we're about 6 months in, that's a good place to be. So that's kind of where we are as of 12/31. And the next slide is basically the same chart, just for the first 6 months of this fiscal year. And again, we still see those three big categories representing most all of our budget. The next slide is a fund balance trend. So it's kind of picks 5 points, beginning with 6/30/20. And you can see in 20 and 21, we had decreases in fund balance. The red line is our general fund balance, which includes all of the restricted and unrestricted fund balance accounts. The blue line is just the unrestricted account. So as you see, when we go over a little bit, I'm going to try to go slow so y'all can see the arrow on the big screen. I think it has a little bit of a delay. But these 2 years here, in 20 and 21, we had a decrease. Here is the 3.9 increase we just talked about for 22. And I just lost my pointer. There it is. If we looked at 12/31, which we talked about, we hadn't received our revenues yet. We are at, this would probably be the rock bottom point of the year for the county, because we're 6 months in expenditures, and we hadn't hit the 3 big due dates. Last week, I think the 17th, we actually received, of course, started receiving property taxes, and we received our big check from SCANA. Everybody knows we get the big check from SCANA. So you can see now we have that big swing in revenues I was telling you that we would get in January. So right now, it looks like we would have about $11.8 million in unrestricted fund balance, which is a good place to be today, but remembering that we are in our biggest collection month, but we still have 6 months of expenditures to go. So 11.8 is where we would be as of Friday. The next slide is just a little chart to show the county's portion of our utilities tax collections. And the total is the top line that we get across all funds. And then the general fund, which is Fund 100, is the bottom line. So that shows you, I know for years and years and years, everybody in Fairfield County hears about this big $30 million check we get from SCANA, but this is the county's portion of that. A big portion goes to the school district, and this is our portion. So sometimes I think everybody thinks that whole check is ours, but it's slightly less than half. The next slide are projects that have been approved in the first 6 months of this year outside of our budget. I've referenced in the far left column the ordinance number, the date, description, and then I've got a few notes. So the first thing, the cost of living, which was estimated at about $486,000. And of course, this won't hit in one big hit. It will hit, a little bit each pay period. An increase for the sheriff and the fire department was $100,000 and $20,000. Some additional funding for Capitol building, some funding for speculative building, and this was marked to come out of money from the sale of property. But as we just talked about, at the end of each fiscal year, all of that excess closes into fund balance. So for 23, it will come out of our fund balance. And then the employee bonuses, which the ordinance had allowed up to 9/22 when we were first getting estimates on that, and we paid those out on Friday the 13th. And the actual paid out plus our portion of Social Security and Medicare was $701,000. So that did come in below our original estimates. The next slide is an update on the Dominion settlement projects. As you all know, the whole settlement was divided into separate little projects. And each of these projects, each of this amount of funding is represented in a separate escrow account. So all these payments flow through an escrow agent. The first column is the total settlement column. The second is the amount remaining. A couple of these items have been done and completed in full. Some of them are in progress.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
In some of these, money that's not being spent, are we making sure that we got these in accounts that's maybe drawing the best interest?
The biggest portion of it, the water treatment plant, there is I think about 40 million of that. Some of it was left to be a little more accessible, but the biggest portion is in a higher interest-bearing account. The others, we're continually making draws on as we're making payments, and they're in regular escrow accounts. They do earn some interest, but it's not like a long-term investment. But typically those, we're making more regular draws. Did anybody have any other questions? All right, the next slide, well, the next two slides actually are update on the American Rescue Plan. At the top, we received the two tranches, as they called it. The total of that was $4,343,000. The first tranche was allocated by Ordinance 787, and those items are listed. And most everything here is complete. I think we've got one part that is not fully complete yet, but this first allocation is pretty much all complete. Some of those items did come in under budget. This slide represents the allocation of the second tranche. And as you can see, some of those funds that we didn't spend in the first were reallocated, mostly for vehicle purchases. And unfortunately, only one of these has actually been purchased because our department heads can't find them, can't find vehicles for this cost. But they're continually working to find that. And then the second tranche was allocated. A big piece of that was courthouse renovations. We have purchased the tanker, and the ambulance is on hold right now. It's coming in a little over budget, but I think there's some additional funding maybe coming up that we can use to make up that extra amount there. But these funds, the second tranche was allocated by Ordinance 796. Does anybody have any questions about the Recovery Act? And that's all I really have for tonight. As Sunithia mentioned earlier, if there are any additional questions, if you want to submit those through administration, and then when we have the work session on the 31st, we can have more detail for anything additional.
Any questions for Ms. Bass?
I don't know if you know this or not, but this mini park on Overlook Road, is that the one that's in Blackstock?
Yes.
And all they've done is grading?
So far, they've started the grading. There's going to be a basketball court and a picnic shelter that are going to be put out there.
I've been asked about cameras or lights. Would there be any, do you have an amount to be spent? Is this written in stone? It's going to be $350,000 to do that, or?
So the $350,000 was the original amount that was just allocated towards the project, and we do have some project estimates to put in the current amount, but the extra security lights, the extra fencing, I've gotten some requests from residents related to that. That was not part of the original budget. And so what we'll be looking at is, because the W.L. Robinson Park came in under budget, because it was allocated by ordinance, council would then have to reallocate funds to that project to cover some of those additional things. So I'll be working with the consultant to come back with a price estimate for those additional things that were not a part of the original park plan.
I've also been asked about a walking trail up there. Is that a feasible thing?
During budget season. We do that during budget season.
Right. It's one of the things that we can talk about in the upcoming budget process. If it's not a current budgeted project, then it's something that we'll have to look at to see if we can add an additional project to that.
Okay, thank you.
Could you possibly address the fact that we're talking about lack of vehicles and the tankers and ambulances are over budget? Are we still having, what is our wait time for those? Even if, once we purchase things, how long do we have to wait to take possession of those?
So based off my understanding and speaking with the EMS director and the fire chief, it usually takes about 12 to 18 months on delivery of ambulances and fire trucks, just because they're not on a lot. They have to be specially ordered. Because the fire truck has been ordered, we will receive that probably about 18 months from the time that that was ordered. With the ambulance, as Ann said, the price has come in higher than when we originally made the allocation with the ARPA funds. So we're looking at some of the additional funds we may be getting from the federal government to ask council to put towards the ambulance. And it'll be the same kind of delivery date. Once we order it, it'll take the 12 to 18 months for that to arrive. The other vehicles, it's just been an unfortunate market with vehicles. The department directors have been checking state contract. We even put out for bid to bundle all of the vehicles, and even the price came in over budget when we bundled the vehicles and bid it out. So it's just been challenging, and we decided with the directors to just wait until after the first of the year, hoping that we might be able to find better prices or something would be on state contract.
Ann, can you go to the general fund balance trend page?
Okay, this one?
Okay, June of 20, now, I may be looking at this wrong, but beginning the fund balance, June of 20, we had $22 million, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
In June of 21, we had $18 million.
Yes, ma'am.
In June of 22, we had $15 million.
Yes, ma'am.
And in December of 22, we had $19 million.
Yes.
But that's the beginning, but we ended up with $12 million.
Yes. You see the middle row, the negative $7,344,000. Okay, that is, at that point in time, that is how much our expenditures were exceeding our revenues. So, I'm trying to think of the best way to explain it. So at that point, if you imagine your own checking account, and, you know, that would be the point you had to dip into savings to the tune of $7 million.
What did we do for $7 million?
Well, we still had money in there. So we had $19 million. We're constantly collecting money, but we're constantly using it. At that point, we had collected $7 million less than we'd spent. So that's where we come with the 12 that's left.
Then you go down to the bottom row on the unrestricted, we're $1 million in the hole.
Yes, ma'am. That's purely the unrestricted. So what that number really represents is at that point in time, we had dipped into something restricted.
So this really wasn't good. Is that what you're saying?
No, ma'am, it's not.
Okay. But now we're trying to make it up because we're getting money coming in.
Yes, ma'am. That's why when I put the very next column, the January 22nd, we've collected our big check. We got our big paycheck for the year. And so you see that big swing, that negative $7 million is now a positive 5.9 because we've collected more revenue than we've spent. So that's a good point to be, but the part to be very aware of is we've still got 6 months to go.
So we started off in a really bad spot to start off January with.
We started off kind of tight, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And I see on here, and maybe either Ms. Williams or Ms. Green, since it's in her district, the fire station. Where are we at on the fire station? Any update on the fire station?
Yes, the last update when I spoke to ICE Infrastructure Consultants is that they've gotten with the contractor, and the contractor plans to start work the second week of February. So I'm going to be reaching out to get the actual start date from them so we can notify council and the residents of when they'll actually start breaking ground.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Bass, Ms. Johnson, and Ms. Williams. We have no clerk to council's report. We are down to second public comment session.
Yes, Mr. Chair, Jeff Schaefer signed up to speak.
Sorry, I had to check my fund balance. Okay. Resolution number JS 124, 2023. You all aware of that? That's the resolution where we start taking money and spending it in the right places. Get millions of dollars. We do not have, and I've said this 500 times, we do not have a functioning, viable police department or a fire department. We don't even have a fire department. We have firemen. We have fire stations. We have fire trucks. We don't have a fire department. We need a fire department. Let that sink in for a second. We need EMS. It has to be fully functional. That's your job. Forget about everything else you're going to hear tonight. That should be your focus. Because what are we paying taxes for? And what are you folks here for? If you can't provide what the government says is statistically the most important, valuable things to every citizen, life-saving services, we don't have it. I'm going to make one really good suggestion. Take a note, think about this. The police to my house from town is at least 20, 25 minutes. Do you know how long it would be there to take them to get to my house if we had that Israeli drone? 3 minutes. Fly over my house, take a picture, see what the situation is. Save us gas, time, energy, and an employee. Why don't we have drones in the EMS department, in the police department, EMS, everywhere? In Israel, they have a drone that will fly to your house. It's got the defibrillator on it, a little camera. Goes right in your front door. You come out and grab it. There's a man on the other end showing you what to do and telling you what to do. It's minutes, and your life is saved. Why aren't we spending money where it will save lives? Please, listen to me. I'm making a good suggestion to you. We need drones. Think about that. The whole world's got drones. Why don't we? Okay, is that my time up, or you didn't even stop my time? But either way, I mean, I just want to tell you that we need to have things that will save people's lives, and we need to spend money on that first. And the last thing I want to say, whether the clock's running or not, is you need to put back the YouTube comment section. I don't know what the holdup is, or if there's a holdup, but there are people at home watching this who want to add to the comments that you hear tonight, that they're unable to get here, but they want to say something. You need to put that back on. And I don't want to hear an excuse about it. I want to see it back on real quick, as soon as we can. I don't know what the reason could be that we shouldn't have it on, but someone will come up with some nonsense of not having it. Please put that back on. And thank you for your attention.
Randy Bright.
Randy Bright, District 1. I apologize. I did not congratulate everybody. I should have when I first spoke. Mrs. Johnson, thank you so much for rejoining us, and congratulations. And I know this will go a long way into righting the ship. I have a lot of confidence in you, as does many people, as do many people. I'm on the same train of thought as Jeff. We've got a lot of problems. You guys have got a deep hole. I understand that. We've got broken EMS systems. We still, after years, don't have any plan that's in place right now for the Broad River, wherever we want to go, where we should go as far as a waste treatment plant. We won't get any type of economic growth until we do. We don't have that. If you don't have a plan in place, who's going to invest with us unless we have that plan in place? We had a plan. It was a workable plan. It was a viable plan, but got sidetracked. 2.5 years later, we still don't have a plan. We still don't have any idea when and if we're going to get a waste treatment plant. That should be at the top. Now, Jeff is absolutely right. We've got to prioritize our first responders and their teams. But we can't afford it unless we have a tax base that can produce the money necessary, because obviously we don't now. We've, 60 firemen short, all kinds of equipment short, massive turnover. We need money. We have to prioritize economic development so that we can prioritize health and safety for the citizens. And that starts with moving forward with a viable plan. I understand you've got some great ideas from Rock Hill, and we should be able to start rolling with that in the very near future. But until the state, until the investors see that we're serious about economic development with a viable economic water treatment facility, we're going to have a stagnant year forever like we did this past year. And we're not going to be able to afford, not only are we not going to be able to afford better EMS, better fire, better police, we're only going to be able to afford worse. So don't make the situation worse. Get a plan in place. That should be at the very top, along with what, so we can support what Jeff indicated. Thank you, and thank you again, Mrs. Johnson.
No one else signed up to speak, Mr. Chair.
Now we are down to county council time. Any council members wish to speak?
I do, Mr. Chair. I represented Fairfield County Council at the Fairfield County NAACP Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King virtual birthday celebration on Monday, January 16th. Hosted by the chair of the NAACP, Ms. Jennifer Johnson, we're inspired by Jenkins. Was inspired by Dr. King's life and legacy, provided opportunities for learning, for reflection, and for hope. The goals for the annual Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day celebration was to honor and celebrate his life and work so that our community may be inspired to address the causes and impact of social inequality and injustice. Annie E. McDaniels, a member of the South Carolina House of Representatives, District 41, was the keynote speaker. Remembrances and quotes were spoken by Senator Mike Fannin, Fairfield County School District Superintendent Dr. J.R. Green, Mayor of Winsboro John McMeekin, Mayor of Ridgeway Heath Cookendorfer, the Robinson Sisters and Ebenezer AME Church Choir, C.J. Stewart, and the Fairfield Central High School Chorus gave musical selections. The second item I'd like to mention to the public is that Hazen and Sawyer, the engineers, invited the members of the Joint Water and Sewer System, council members, and citizens to review the engineering study that they had done for the City of Rock Hill Manchester Creek Water Treatment Plant. And they looked at alternatives and studies and updates and expansion, and they gave a tour of the upgraded membrane bioreactor, that's called the MBR wastewater treatment plant in Fort Mill. Basically, they were looking at microfiltration or ultrafiltration process, looking at the bioreactor. So all of this was basically a visit for us to kind of get a look at what some of the possibilities are, what some of the engineering studies look like in terms of the work that Hazen and Sawyer engineers have done. I didn't get that. And to give us, just to give us some kind of idea of how we might move forward in taking a look at our wastewater treatment plant. I'd also like to thank those who have called and expressed their condolences on the death of my sister. I certainly appreciate your thoughts and prayers.
Yes, I guess I have a question. We approved money for the monument in Jenkinsville. Could the administration, let me know when you guys plan on following through?
Oh, I'm just on my day 5, but that's something I'm going to look at tomorrow. And I need to pull the documentation and the rules, the ordinances, et cetera. And I'm not sure if we've gotten any invoices for that yet. But also, I think in one of the provisions, like I said, I need to look at the ordinance. Finance or administration pretty much needs to set up how that money is to be distributed and just make sure it's used properly and for what county council has intended for it to be used for. So we need to set up really some policies and procedures in place and then follow through with that first.
That's roof. But some days it is rough, yeah. Anyway, I have a few questions, and I hope I don't take too long, but I've gotten a number of questions over the last months, and some of these are from me also, but, and so I know some of this might be a little overwhelming, but take your time, and whoever needs to get back to me and some of these, the rest of the council may want to. One is on the recreation. There's a couple things about the recreation site in Ridgeway. Did DHEC approve the environmental conditions of the site before start of construction? I've had that asked. And pertaining to that also, I got a call a week ago from a property owner adjacent to that site, and he told me that he was promised by Moses Bell that there would be a 50-foot buffer between the grading and clearing and the property line. But he says, however, they went right up to the property line in the grading and clearing. So can we look into that as soon as possible to see what can be done to resolve that, so I can let him know what we're going to do, and also I'm not sure, but is there not a county setback for property grading, clearing adjoining property? So, also, I don't know if everybody's seen, but I haven't, the plans for the recreation site. Is that available that we could get to? I don't know if all council members have seen it, but I haven't. Let me see. And as far as the tour of the wastewater treatment facility, I was not able to attend, but I'm hoping there may be another tour be arranged that we could go see. I would love to do that. Excuse me. And also, we talked about this already, about the audit, that we just need to make sure we got plans in place to not let this happen again. And I was also asked, there's a grant application through the county, and I think it is supposed to include the town of Ridgeway. If you could get some information on that and see where that stands. Another thing is why, and I asked this a couple of years ago, and I don't know why it stopped, but why was the trash pickup, which used to do by inmates, were taken out, pick up trash, and then it was collected, because the roadways are awful. And to grow this county and attract tourism and industry, we need a clean county. And also, Ridgeway is a scenic byway route too, so but the whole county, we really need to keep it clean. That's about all I got for right now, and I realize this is a lot, and I know, but just when you get a chance, if we can get answers and some information on this, and I appreciate everything.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Green, I would like to say I'm sorry on the loss of your sister. That was the first time that I was made aware of it. Second, I would like all council members to keep Ms. Cheryl Brown. She used to be a council clerk in your prayers. I was speaking with her husband the other day, and she could really use our prayers, so if you would pray for the family. Next, Fairfield County spends a lot of money in recreation, and I would love to promote a healthier Fairfield, encourage residents and citizens to use what facilities we have in the county. And on Saturday, February the 18th, the Fairfield County Parks and Recreation is doing a second annual Got Heart 5K and 1.5 mile walk. And I'm just encouraging citizens to sign up, and kind of as a challenge to other council members, to see what district could get the most people to sign up from their district. And then also on April the 22nd, 2023, Fairfield Behavioral Health Services is doing the 23rd annual 5K run and walk. And if we could just encourage Fairfield County citizens to be more active and have a healthier Fairfield. And the last thing I would like to say, as we all come together to move this county forward, we have decided as a council, not one individual council member, to not allow YouTube comments at this time. I think we all want transparency for our citizens and want to hear feedback from our citizens. Second public comment sessions is allowed at our meetings, and we encourage viewers that watch from live stream to send their remarks or suggestions to the clerk or their council members. At this time, we all think by doing this, it is in the best interest of Fairfield County. Have any other motions?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? We are now adjourned.